Another day, another banger. This time we're diving into one of the most brutal timelines in cinema. It starts with 28 days later, where a single outbreak wipes out a country. The world tries to fix it in 28 weeks later and makes it worse. By 28 years later, it's something far beyond a virus. The infected have evolved, and now they're being led. This is the complete timeline of the 28 Days Later franchise. Enjoy. In the middle of the night in England, 3 animal rights activists break into the Cambridge Primate Research Center. Inside, they find chimps being subjected to experiments involving videos of human rage, violence, and destruction. As the group begins snapping pictures, a scientist catches them and frantically tries to call security. The activists manage to stop him, capturing him before he can alert anyone. The scientist pleads with them not to interfere, warning that the chimps are infected with a highly contagious and dangerous virus called rage. But the activists dismiss his warnings and release one of the chimps. The freed animal immediately launches a savage attack, biting one of the women in the group before being killed by one of her companions. Meanwhile, the other chimps in their cages grow hysterical. The bitten woman collapses, vomiting blood onto the floor and onto a fellow activist. The scientist insists that she must be killed, but it's already too late. She transforms into a zombie, attacking everyone in the room with terrifying speed and aggression. 28 days later, Jim wakes up alone in a deserted hospital after being in a coma. Confused and disoriented, he stumbles out of his room, searching for anyone else. The building is dead silent, with no sign of life, only chaos left behind. Grabbing a few drinks from a vending machine, Jim ventures outside to explore London, only to find the city in the same condition, completely abandoned with destruction all around. As he walks through the empty streets, Jim discovers a newspaper revealing that Britain experienced a mass exodus. At a large bulletin board, he sees thousands of missing person signs, each one a heartbreaking reminder of the disaster. Hoping for answers, Jim enters a church where unsettling messages cover the walls. When he steps into the main room, he's horrified to see it filled with rotting bodies. Calling out, "Hello?" Jim startles a few figures who slowly move, staring blankly at him. Suddenly, a priest appears, but something is terribly wrong. He's a zombie. The priest lunges at Jim, forcing him to defend himself with a bag filled with cans. The priest doesn't stop and continues to chase him, leaving Jim no choice but to run. As Jim flees, other zombies join in, pursuing him relentlessly. He races through the streets until he reaches a gas station where he's rescued by 2 survivors, a man and a woman. They hurl Molotov cocktails at the zombies, burning them alive. Once Jim is safe, they blow up the gas station with a powerful explosion to destroy the remaining zombies. Afterward, the 2 survivors, Mark as well as a woman named Selina, take Jim to their hideout, an abandoned sweet shop hidden in the London Underground. As they settle in, Jim shares that he had been in a coma due to a car crash. Selina explains the grim reality. A highly contagious virus escaped from a research facility and quickly spread, turning people into zombies. British society collapsed under the outbreak. Most of the population is either dead or infected. The army was overwhelmed and the government no longer exists. Despite Selina's warnings that his parents are likely dead, Jim insists on checking their home. Reluctantly, Selina and Mark agree to accompany him, knowing it's safer to stay together. The next morning, the trio navigates the desolate streets of London, carefully avoiding danger, and eventually reach Jim's old house. There, Jim is devastated to find his parents dead but have managed to avoid becoming zombies. The heartbreaking note they left behind reads, "Don't wake up." As Jim grieves, Selina and Mark try to comfort him, sharing their own pain of watching their families turn into monsters. That night, they stay in the house, but Jim is unable to sleep. He decides to watch old family videos, turning on a light that unintentionally reveals their location. Suddenly, 2 zombies smash through the window, attacking Jim. He struggles to fight them off, screaming for help. Selina and Mark rush in, swiftly killing the creatures with brutal precision. Afterward, Selina checks Jim to ensure he wasn't bitten or exposed to infected blood. Tragically, Mark isn't so lucky. He's wounded and his injury is contaminated with zombie blood. Without hesitation, Selina kills Mark with her machete to prevent him from turning. She then tells Jim they must leave immediately before more zombies arrive. After washing up, changing clothes, and gathering supplies from the house, Jim and Selina leave the area. As they move on, Selina warns Jim that anyone infected must be killed immediately, whether they're a stranger, a friend, or even family. Later, Jim and Selina notice flashing lights coming from a nearby apartment building and decide to investigate. The building is in poor condition, with the lobby cluttered with trolleys blocking the entrance. Undeterred, they climb over the mess and head for the stairs. As they ascend, they pause for a moment to catch their breath. Suddenly, the eerie screeches of zombies echo through the building. The creatures have followed them inside, quickly climbing over the trolleys to reach the stairs. Panicked, Jim and Selina begin to climb faster as the zombies close in. After several exhausting flights, they encounter a man wearing protective gear blocking their path. He calmly gives them the number and location of his apartment, then turns to face the zombies. Armed with a shield and a bat, he bravely holds them off, buying Jim and Selina time to escape. The duo rushes to the apartment, but the door remains locked until the man safely returns. Once inside, they meet their rescuers, Frank and his daughter Hannah, who warmly welcome them. It turns out this is the apartment with the flashing lights, and Frank is overjoyed his signal has finally brought some company. The next day, Frank takes Jim to the roof to show him the buckets he's set up to collect rainwater. He explains that it hasn't rained in a long time and resources are running out. At this rate, they won't be able to stay in the apartment much longer. Frank then plays a military radio broadcast on repeat, which claims that soldiers near Manchester are offering survivors protection and promising the answer to the infection. Frank is eager to make the journey, but Selena is doubtful, suspecting it could be a trap or an outdated message. Hannah, however, delivers a heartfelt speech, convincing everyone it's worth the risk. With a plan in place, the group loads up Frank's taxi with all the supplies they can carry and sets off for Manchester. As they drive through London, they witness the widespread destruction and lifeless streets littered with bodies. When they reach a tunnel, they find the way blocked by wrecked cars and bodies. Frank, determined to push through, drives straight into the mess, clearing a path as he goes. They manage to get through, but the rough ride leaves them with a flat tire. Stopping to fix it, the group hears an unsettling sound. Suddenly, hundreds of rats rush past them, fleeing something. Realizing zombies are nearby, they spring into action. With no time for tools, the adults lift the car while Hannah quickly changes the tire. As shadows of zombies approach, the creatures begin leaping over the wreckage, closing the distance fast. Just as the zombies are about to reach them, the group finishes the repair and speeds away in the nick of time. After driving for several hours, the group reaches the countryside and stops at a burger shack to siphon gas from an abandoned truck. While the others handle the fuel, Jim decides to explore the building. Inside, he finds a tragic scene, a dead family. Suddenly, a zombie child lunges at him, forcing Jim to defend himself. With no other choice, he kills the child to survive. They continue their journey through the countryside, which remains stunningly beautiful despite the chaos elsewhere. During a stop for dinner, they watch wild horses running freely, seemingly untouched by the world's troubles. Selena, unexpectedly moved by the moment, admits it's better than she anticipated, and even gives Jim a light kiss on the cheek. That night, the group finds shelter in the ruins of an old castle. Unable to sleep, Jim and Hannah wake Selena, asking how she manages to rest so easily. In response, Selena shares some of her medicine to help them relax. The next morning, Jim wakes up to a dead silence, realizing he's alone. Panicking, he frantically looks around until Frank shakes him awake, telling him it was just a dream. The next day, the group continues their journey and sees Manchester burning in the distance. When they finally reach the military blockade mentioned in the radio broadcast, they find abandoned trucks and equipment but no sign of life. Selena suggests they should leave, but Frank refuses to give up and keeps searching the area. Frustrated and angry, Frank notices a crow feeding on a zombie perched on a nearby wall. He kicks the wall to scare the bird away, but a drop of infected blood falls directly into his eye. Realizing what's about to happen, Frank tells Hannah he loves her and warns her to stay away. Ignoring his pleas, Hannah tries to approach, but as the virus takes hold, Frank's fury erupts. Jim hesitates, unable to harm his friend, but before he can decide, a group of soldiers shoot Frank down in seconds. The soldiers take Jim, Selena, and Hannah to a heavily secured mansion in the woods where a few survivors from the military have fortified a base. Major West, their leader, greets them warmly, offering food and a chance to clean up. As they settle in, Hannah naps while Selena has an emotional breakdown in front of Jim. He tries to comfort her, but she realizes what's happening and leaves the room. Jim approaches Major West to ask about the answer to the infection mentioned in the radio broadcast. To Jim's dismay, West reveals there is no cure. Instead, he considers the extensive security measures around the mansion and the stockpile of supplies as their solution. West also reveals a disturbing experiment. A zombie soldier, chained in the mansion's courtyard, is being kept alive for study. Jim finds this cruel, but West insists it's necessary to learn how long it takes for a zombie to starve, believing this could be the real answer to ending the outbreak. That evening, Jim, Selena, and Hannah join the soldiers for dinner. The group is unsettled by the soldiers' aggressive and domineering behavior. West, dressed in his full uniform, criticizes the soldier who cooked the meal for making a mistake and casually assumes Hannah can take over kitchen duties. Before the tension escalates, an alarm rings, signaling a zombie attack. The soldiers spring into action, rushing outside to defend the mansion. With practiced efficiency, they take their positions and unleash a barrage of gunfire and explosives, wiping out the attacking zombies in minutes without breaking a sweat. Once the threat is neutralized, the soldiers return inside. Back in the mansion, things take a darker turn when Mitchell attempts to assault Selena. Jim intervenes but is quickly overpowered due to Mitchell's military training. The situation is stopped when Sergeant Farrell steps in and hits Mitchell, forcing him to back off. Moments later, West orders the group to clean up the bodies outside. Afterward, West speaks privately with Jim, revealing the true purpose of the radio broadcast. He explains that a few days ago, one of his soldiers, Jones, was despairing over the lack of a future. To restore hope, West promised his men he would bring women to the mansion to help repopulate after the zombies were starved to death. Horrified by this revelation, Jim rushes to gather Selena and Hannah to escape. Before they can leave, the soldiers intervene, knocking Jim out and capturing all three of them. Farrell protests against West's plan and tries to defend the group but is overpowered and imprisoned alongside them. Jim and Farrell are locked in a small room together. During their conversation, Farrell shares a theory. The infection likely hasn't spread beyond Britain's shores, and the rest of the world is probably fine, simply quarantining the island to contain the outbreak. Suddenly, Mitchell and Jones drag Jim and Farrell into the forest to execute them by a pile of bodies. Farrell condemns the soldiers for betraying their comrades, and an argument breaks out whether they should use guns or knives. Frustrated, Jones shoots anyway, killing Farrell but accidentally wounding Mitchell in the arm. While the two argue, Jim slips away unnoticed. When the soldiers realize Jim is gone, they begin searching for him. However, Jim cleverly hides among the pile of bodies, blending in until he can make his escape. He scales the wall surrounding the compound, leaving his shirt behind. Seeing this, the soldiers decide not to pursue him, as he won't survive the zombies outside. As Jim runs through the woods, he trips and falls. Looking up, he spots a jet flying overhead, confirming Farrell's theory that the rest of the world remains unaffected. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, the soldiers force Selena and Hannah to put on dresses. Selena resists at first but changes tactics, flirting with one of the soldiers and convincing him to leave them alone to change in privacy. Once the soldiers step out, Selena gives Hannah some of her medicine to dull the trauma. Unfortunately, the soldier overhears this and rushes back into the room when the mansion's alarm begins blaring. The noise seems to be coming from the blockade, where Jim is deliberately sounding the alarm to create chaos. West and another soldier rush to investigate, and Jim uses the distraction to sneak around and ambush the soldier, knocking him unconscious. When West finds his partner dead in a nearby jeep, he begins firing blindly into the area. Realizing the jeep has been disabled, West tries to flee, but a zombie leaps onto the vehicle. West quickly shoots it and kills several other incoming zombies before retreating back to the mansion. Meanwhile, Jim sneaks back into the mansion with the weapon he stole from the jeep. He frees the chained zombie in the courtyard, which immediately smashes through a window, attacking the soldiers guarding Selena and Hannah. Seizing the opportunity, Selena drags Hannah away while the chaos unfolds. The zombie vomits blood onto one of the soldiers, infecting him before chasing after Jones. As Selena and Hannah flee, they're confronted by Mitchell. Just then, Jones sprints past with the zombie in pursuit. Mitchell orders another soldier to chase after them while he stays behind to deal with the girls. Jones manages to hide in the kitchen, but when the zombie corners him, the soldier arrives to help. Unfortunately, the soldier is overpowered and infected, creating yet another zombie. Watching from outside, Jim observes the chaos as Jones hides in a cupboard, sobbing in fear. After the zombies leave, Jones tries to escape, but Jim intercepts and kills him on the spot. Jim then moves through the mansion, avoiding the zombies by entering a hidden passage. Meanwhile, upstairs, Hannah escapes from Mitchell and stumbles into the changing room, where she finds a picture of her father among her belongings. Hearing a zombie approaching, she hides behind a mirror, which confuses the zombie and leaves. Jim continues searching, entering a room where he finds a soldier hiding and begging for help. Ignoring him, Jim leaps out of the window, leaving the soldier to be consumed by the approaching zombies. Running across the roof, Jim spots the room where Mitchell is about to attack Selena and bursts in through the window. Mitchell grabs Selena as a hostage, but Jim tackles him, forcing him to release her. Fueled by rage, Jim brutally attacks Mitchell, smashing his head against the wall before killing him. Selena mistakes Jim for a zombie and raises her machete to strike, but hesitates, giving Jim the chance to prove he's not infected. They are then interrupted when Hannah hits Jim with a vase, also mistaking him for a zombie. Realizing Jim is fine, the trio quickly escapes the mansion. As they reach Frank's taxi, they find West waiting inside. West shoots Jim, but Hannah immediately drives the taxi backward into the building, causing the previously freed zombie to attack, breaking through the back window and dragging West out to exact its own vengeance. Hannah immediately speeds off, picking up Jim and Selena before crashing through the locked gates surrounding the mansion. Jim's memories of what follows are hazy, but he recalls Selena giving him CPR when everything goes to black. 28 days later, the trio is shown living peacefully in a cottage in the countryside. Selena has been sewing large pieces of fabric, and when they hear a plane flying overhead, this causes the group to rush outside. Using the fabric, they unveil giant letters spelling hello. The pilot notices the message and turns the plane around, signaling their rescue. In Britain, a deadly zombie virus escapes from a lab, spreading rapidly and killing thousands. Don and his wife Alice, who has mismatched eyes, hide in a countryside cottage with other survivors. Jeff, Sally, Jacob, and Karen. Relieved, they know their 2 children are safe on a school trip to Spain. One day during lunch, desperate pounding at the door reveals a young boy begging for help. Despite Don's reluctance, Alice persuades him to let the boy in. He shares his story. His parents became zombies and have been chasing him with a horde from a nearby town. Meanwhile, Karen, worried about her missing boyfriend, peeks through a window, inadvertently alerting zombies. They break through, biting her arm. Karen transforms quickly, vomiting blood and attacking Jacob, who struggles to hold her back. Don kills Karen with a blow to the head, giving Jacob time to escape. More zombies arrive, forcing Don to hold them off while the others flee. Alice and the boy run upstairs, but the boy outpaces her, vanishing from sight. Meanwhile, Jeff holds the barn door to allow Sally and Jacob to escape, but the door gives way and he's devoured. Sally's hesitation costs her life as she's caught by zombies, forcing Jacob to retreat alone. Downstairs, Don fights off zombies but loses his weapon and is forced to run. Hearing Alice scream, he rushes to her. Alice refuses to leave without the boy, who she eventually finds hiding. However, a zombie separates her from Don. Terrified, Don becomes a bit and abandons Alice and the boy, escaping through a window while dozens of zombies chase him. Alice is killed on the spot and Don eventually reaches the river dock where Jacob is untying a motorboat. Don starts the motor, but Jacob slips into the water where he's bitten and turns into a zombie. Jacob attacks, but Don kills him with the boat's propeller before safely sailing away. 15 days after the outbreak, Britain is placed under quarantine. By day 28, the virus has decimated the entire country. 5 weeks later, the infected begin to die of starvation, and by 11 weeks, NATO forces from the US arrive in London to begin clearing the area. 18 weeks after the outbreak, Britain is declared free of infection, and by week 24, reconstruction starts. Britons who fled during the chaos are allowed to return 28 weeks later, but American soldiers like Sniper Doyle and helicopter pilot Flynn continue to patrol London to maintain security. With no active threats, the soldiers pass time joking over their radios, bored from the lack of action. A new group of returning citizens arrives on the latest plane, including children coming back from school trips. This frustrates Dr. Scarlett, who believes it's too soon to expose young people to the lingering dangers. While performing health checks on the arrivals, she meets Tammy and Andy, Don and Alice's children. Scarlett notices Andy's mismatched eyes, and he explains they resemble his mother's. After confirming the siblings are healthy, they board a train to District 1, a fortified repatriation zone. On the way, they witness soldiers burning bodies, disposing of toxic waste, and cleaning every corner of the city. Once in District 1, Tammy and Andy reunite with their father, Don, who now lives in a luxurious apartment due to his position as the caretaker of the zone. The children, however, are more concerned with learning what happened to their mother. Don explains that zombies attacked their cottage and claims he witnessed Alice's death, lying to conceal the truth about his abandonment. That night, Andy dreams of his mother as a terrifying zombie. Frightened, he wakes up and joins his sister, admitting he's scared of forgetting their mother's face. The next morning, while Don is at work, Andy and Tammy decide to sneak out of the apartment without telling him. They carefully exit the safe zone by crossing along the side of a bridge. From his rooftop post, Sniper Doyle spots them and alerts his team. Meanwhile, the siblings run through the abandoned parts of London, enjoying the rare freedom without adults watching over them. While exploring, they come across a delivery bike parked outside a pizzeria. Tammy goes inside to search for the keys and is horrified to discover the building filled with rotting bodies. Covering her mouth and nose, she carefully retrieves the keys from a corpse but is startled by a swarm of cockroaches. Grabbing a helmet, Tammy hurries back to Andy, and together they ride off on the bike. As they travel through the city, they pass by remnants of the zombie outbreak. The widespread destruction, empty streets, and countless new graves built over the last few months. Eventually, they reach their old home. Inside, they collect a picture of Alice and a few personal belongings. While exploring, Andy climbs into the attic, where he finds the windows covered and a table filled with rotten food. He notices strange markings on the walls, including his and Tammy's names. As Andy inspects the room, he catches a glimpse of someone in the mirror and assumes it's Tammy. However, the figure steps out, revealing itself to be Alice. Her eyes are bloodshot, but otherwise, she seems unharmed. Overwhelmed with emotion, Alice rushes to hug her son. Andy is initially happy, but her embrace becomes uncomfortably tight. Before they can make sense of what's happening, military forces arrive. They separate the siblings, taking Andy and Tammy away while capturing Alice. Sometime later, Alice is given a thorough shower and secured to a stretcher. Dr. Scarlett attempts to ask her questions, but Alice remains silent. Scarlett takes a blood sample and discovers that Alice was bitten, yet she hasn't turned into a zombie. This anomaly intrigues Scarlett, as it defies the usual pattern of infection. After running tests, Scarlett confirms that Alice carries the virus and can infect others, but she is somehow immune to its effects. This unique condition makes her a potential key to creating a vaccine. However, the higher-ups, fearing the risk of an outbreak, order Alice to be executed and instruct Scarlett to continue her research on Alice's corpse. Meanwhile, Tammy and Andy are held in quarantine. When Don visits them, the siblings angrily confront him for lying about their mother's death. Guilt-ridden, Don sneaks past military security to visit Alice in her isolation room. He apologizes for abandoning her during the outbreak, blaming his actions on panic. Moved by his words, Alice softly responds with, "I love you." Overcome with emotion, Don repeats the phrase and kisses her. The kiss, however, proves disastrous. Alice's saliva infects Don immediately, and he begins to feel the effects almost instantly. Racked with pain, he screams as he transforms into a zombie. Alice, tied to the stretcher, is helpless as Don turns on her. In his frenzied state, he attacks Alice, beating her, biting her neck, and brutally crushing her eyes. Now fully turned, Don escapes the isolation room, attacking and killing several guards on his way out. Unchecked, he heads into District 1, spreading the virus and triggering chaos throughout the area. When higher-ups learn of the incident, they retreat to a bunker and initiate Code Red, locking down the district. Soldiers prepare for battle as Tammy and Andy remain trapped in their quarantine room. Suddenly, their guard returns, but he's now a zombie. He slams against the glass until his head is blown apart by Scarlet, who rescues the siblings and leads them out. As they flee, they navigate through the bodies of the fallen and find themselves in a chaotic crowd of civilians. When soldiers block their exit, Scarlet insists Tammy and Andy are top priority figures, sparking a heated argument. Amid the confusion, Andy is separated from them and pushed into a garage-turned-safe room with other civilians. The soldiers lock the doors just as the district loses power. In the dark, Andy hears a noise and discovers his zombie father, Don, outside the door. Don breaks in and attacks, infecting the trapped civilians. The virus spreads rapidly, creating chaos as Andy scrambles to escape. Climbing over the panicked crowd, he reaches the ventilation system and hides as the infected multiply. Eventually, the civilians break the door lock, spilling into the stairwell and spreading the outbreak further. Outside, emergency lights flicker as soldiers rush to the hospital, with snipers like Doyle providing cover fire. Scarlet and Tammy sprint through the chaos, dodging zombies as soldiers fire at the infected. The snipers display precision, taking down zombie after zombie, but the overwhelming numbers blur the line between survivors and the infected. Overwhelmed, higher-ups issue an order to kill everyone on site to contain the outbreak. Soldiers comply, unleashing a brutal massacre. Amid the bloodshed, Andy emerges from the ventilation system into the chaos. Spotted by Doyle, who refuses to harm survivors, the sniper protects Andy, shooting zombies near him and saving him from imminent danger. This allows Andy to escape with other survivors. Meanwhile, zombies reach the rooftops, killing some snipers. With the streets momentarily cleared, Doyle abandons his post to flee as the outbreak spirals further out of control. The survivors take refuge in a warehouse, where Andy reunites with Scarlet and Tammy and shares the heartbreaking truth about their father. Shortly after, Doyle arrives and offers to guide the group out of the area before the military begins targeting everyone indiscriminately. They leave the warehouse through the back door, carefully moving through the dark streets to avoid detection by other guards. As they navigate the shadows, Flynn's helicopter flies overhead. Doyle uses his radio to distract Flynn, ensuring the group can keep moving unnoticed. Flynn, however, delivers grim news. The military plans to bomb all of District 1 in just 4 minutes. Doyle persuades Flynn to pick him up at Regent's Park but keeps the survivors' presence a secret. With no time to lose, the group sprints toward the park. As they run, a sniper fires, killing one of the survivors. Taking cover, Scarlet grabs a flesh wound and hidden behind a wall. Doyle uses a piece of reflective metal to locate the sniper. He realizes the sniper is a terrified civilian and uses Andy to run in zigzags, allowing Doyle to successfully take out the shooter. Andy then spots his father, but before he can process what he's seeing, Don's shadowy figure vanishes. The group sprints as fast as they can, climbing over a fence to escape District 1 just moments before the area is bombed. Explosions rip through the district, killing thousands of people and destroying Scarlet's critical research for a cure. Flames engulf the hospital, consuming Alice and burning her corpse. As the fire spreads, the group races through a tunnel that is quickly overtaken by the flames. They narrowly escape before the building behind them collapses in another massive explosion. From the safety of their bunker, the generals monitor the destruction but are horrified to realize the bombing didn't eliminate all the zombies. Many have survived and are now pouring into London, breaking into buildings and spreading chaos everywhere. By morning, Doyle's group finally reaches Regent's Park, an abandoned area untouched since the outbreak began. While they wait for Flynn's arrival, Scarlet shares her findings with Doyle, explaining that Alice's immunity might have been passed down to her children, making them key to developing a potential vaccine. As they talk, Flynn radios Doyle, confirming he's on his way but warning them to stay alert for escaping zombies. Doyle quickly instructs everyone to hide in the tall grass. Flynn lands nearby but grows angry when he spots the group, refusing to take anyone else. As the argument escalates, Sam notices the zombies closing in and panics. Desperate, he runs to cling to the helicopter. Furious, Flynn tries to shake Sam off by flying erratically. When the zombies reach the park, Flynn brings the chopper low, using its rotor blades to mow through the horde. Blood and gore splatter across the tall grass as the helicopter tears through the infected. Despite Flynn's efforts, some zombies survive and begin chasing Doyle, Scarlet, and the children. Meanwhile, Sam eventually loses his grip, falling to the ground. The remaining group continues to run for their lives, with Doyle pausing occasionally to shoot at the zombies that get too close. Flynn tells Doyle to meet him at Wembley Stadium but insists on leaving the others behind. As the group rounds a corner, they are horrified to see the military pumping gas into the city. In a panic, they rush into a nearby car to take cover. Moments later, the zombies catch up, violently shaking the vehicle and smearing blood across the windows. However, the gas reaches them quickly, killing the infected within seconds. Before the group can relax, soldiers arrive with flamethrowers to eliminate any survivors. Doyle desperately tries to start the car, but when it won't start, he jumps out to push it. His effort allows Scarlet and the children to escape, but he is burned alive by the soldiers in the process. Scarlet takes over the wheel and speeds through London, dodging bullets as military helicopters open fire. In an act of desperation, she drives into the subway tunnels, forcing the group to continue on foot. The lower tunnels are pitch black, so Scarlet uses Doyle's night vision scope to guide the children down an escalator. As they descend, they slip on old corpses, falling and becoming separated. Scarlett stumbles through the bodies shouting the siblings' names and eventually reunites with Tammy. Unfortunately, the noise attracts a zombie which attacks them. The creature grabs Doyle's weapon and brutally beats Scarlett to death. Tammy, devastated, picks up the weapon after the zombie leaves and mourns Scarlett's lifeless body. Meanwhile, Andy ends up on a dark platform where he encounters the same zombie that killed Scarlett. The monster bites Andy on the neck just as Tammy arrives, horrified to see that the zombie is her father, Don. Overwhelmed, Tammy hesitates but ultimately shoots him, ending his rampage. Distraught, Tammy checks on her brother but Andy runs off, terrified he will infect her. Tammy chases after him and finds him after he falls. When she examines him closely, she notices his eye turning bloodshot like their mother's, indicating that Andy is also immune to the virus. The siblings eventually reach Wembley Stadium and break the news about Doyle to Flynn. With no other options, Flynn takes the children aboard his helicopter, flying away from Britain toward mainland Europe. 28 days later, the helicopter is found abandoned in France, with someone's voice calling for help over the radio. The scene shifts to reveal a massive horde of zombies charging toward the Eiffel Tower, confirming that the virus has now spread beyond Britain. 28 years later begins with a group of children sitting together watching television and focused on a simple children's show. In the background, adult voices can be heard speaking urgently about something that is getting closer. The moment they realize the children might be listening, the door is quickly shut. The kids look at each other, confused and unsure of what is happening. Then a woman suddenly rushes in, drops off a younger child and urgently tells them not to leave under any circumstances before quickly leaving again. She offers no explanation, only a clear sense of fear. Not long after, strange noises begin echoing from outside. Loud bangs, shattering glass, and distant screams fill the air. The children try to stay quiet, but their curiosity slowly takes over. One of them carefully moves toward the door, trying to understand what is going on. Without warning, something begins forcing its way inside. Panic immediately breaks out as the door bursts open and infected attackers rush in. The children freeze, completely shocked and unable to react. The boy closest to the door snaps out of it and runs for his life. He rushes outside and spots his mother, thinking he is finally safe, but everything changes in an instant. A creature stands beside her, and she quickly slams the door shut to protect him. Terrified, he runs upstairs searching for safety, only to find more infected already inside. His home has become complete chaos. With no other option, he escapes and runs blindly through the streets until he finally reaches a nearby church. Upon entering, he finds a priest who embraces him without surprise or fear. As the child tries to explain what has happened, the man, completely devoted to his faith, calmly declares that it is Judgment Day. He places his golden necklace into the boy's hands and tells him to hide. The child obeys without hesitation. Moments later, the infected burst into the church. The priest, firm in his belief, does not run. He stands his ground and is quickly overtaken, becoming one of them. Hidden away, the boy waits in silence for the right moment. When the chance finally comes, he escapes the church without looking back, still holding the necklace. This is how the rage virus destroyed the United Kingdom. The rest of Europe chose to isolate the island completely to contain the outbreak. The quarantine was absolute. No one entered and no one left. 28 years have passed since then. Cities now lie in ruins and the few survivors live under harsh conditions, forming small communities. Life has become a constant struggle. Nature has taken back what was once human, and although the infected are less active, they still remain a serious threat. In one of these communities, a father wakes his son and tells him that the big day has arrived. The boy, named Spike, quickly gets up and prepares his bag. Outside, other men and youths are doing the same, gathering improvised weapons like spears, daggers, and bows. There are no firearms, only what they can build themselves. Survival now depends on adaptation. Spike heads into the kitchen where his father, Jamie, serves him a rare breakfast with bacon. They sit and eat together. Jamie asks if he has packed everything, including his knife, and Spike confirms that he has. Suddenly, they hear a noise. It is his mother, who is very sick. Jamie goes to check on her, with Spike following closely behind. She apologizes for worrying them, hugs her son, and explains that she woke up with a bad headache. Even though she tries to stay calm, it is clear that she is getting worse. Jamie then takes the moment to explain their plan for the day. He tells Spike that he will not be going to school, that it is Friday, and that instead they will be leaving the island. The woman suddenly becomes agitated and reminds him that her son is only 12 years old. Her illness is clearly affecting her, both physically and mentally. Jamie, however, stays firm and eventually leaves the room. Spike remains with her for a little longer and manages to calm her more easily than his father. Before leaving, he hands her some bacon wrapped in a handkerchief. In a moment of confusion, she asks where he is going. He quietly replies that he is going to school. Hearing this, she relaxes and nods, leaving behind a moment filled with worry, care, and quiet acceptance of the uncertain future ahead. Before they leave, Sam, a neighbor from the village, gives Spike his first weapon. It is a meaningful gesture, marking the beginning of his journey and symbolizing his step into a new stage of life. As father and son walk through the village toward the exit, the people gather to see them off. Some offer words of encouragement, others raise their hands in support, while a few simply watch in silence. Everyone understands the risk they are taking and the purpose behind it. At the entrance that marks the edge of the safe zone, the community leader approaches them and warns Jamie about what lies ahead. She makes it clear that once they enter the mainland, there will be no rescue. Too many have already tried and never returned. She also reminds them of the tide. When it goes down, a path appears, but when it rises, the way back is completely covered. At that point, there is no return and no second chance. With this in mind, father and son begin their journey toward the mainland. As they walk, they go over the basic rules that will keep them alive. They must move carefully, stay quiet, and remain alert at all times. They both know that once the tide comes back in, turning back will not be an option. As they move forward, a haunting song plays, adding to the tension. The journey is intercut with glimpses of mutated infected, their bodies twisted and their behavior unpredictable. These are not like the usual infected. They are far more dangerous and are likely the kind of threat Spike will face. Spike's mission is clear. He must kill an infected as part of a test. The goal is simple in theory. He needs to aim for the head or the heart and bring it down with a single arrow. There is no room for mistakes. Accuracy, courage, and speed will decide everything. As they continue walking, each step makes the weight of the mission feel heavier on Spike's shoulders. The first threat they encounter is a slow one, a large infected creature that lets out a disturbing squeal like a pig. This new variant has gray skin covered in mold and slime, and it moves along the ground in a crawling, almost worm-like way. Spike reacts quickly and fires an arrow into its neck, but the shot does not fully stop it. Soon more of these infected begin to appear. They move slowly, but their numbers start to grow. Jamie, with experience and control, steps in and eliminates them before the situation becomes worse. The real challenge comes when they come across an infected child. Spike lowers his bow the moment he sees him. He cannot bring himself to shoot. Instead of confronting it, they choose to leave. The moment hits hard and leaves a lasting impact on Spike. Even so, having survived his first encounter, he finds some confidence, and the two continue moving deeper into the mainland. As they travel, they pass a herd of deer running through the forest. It is a clear sign that nature has taken over. Buildings are falling apart, and animals now move freely where people once lived. Further ahead, they come across an abandoned house. It looks like it has already been searched, possibly by other survivors, but they still decide to check it in case something useful remains. Inside, the atmosphere quickly turns unsettling. They find a man hanging upside down in one of the rooms. His chest has been marked with a single word, Jimmy. Jamie warns Spike that people on the mainland cannot be trusted. Many have been changed by fear and isolation, leading them to do terrible things. The meaning is clear. The man was left there to turn into one of the infected. Without hesitation, Jamie tells Spike to end it before the transformation is complete. It is part of his training, but also a necessary act to avoid further danger. The moment is tense. Spike hesitates, but as the man begins to move and looks ready to break free, he fires an arrow into his head. The threat is stopped before it can fully form. After this, they continue their journey, moving carefully through the land. Along the way, they find the remains of a deer that has been torn apart. At first, it seems like a normal attack, something caused by scavengers or other infected. But everything changes when Spike notices the deer's head placed high in a tree. That small detail carries a clear message. An alpha is nearby. Alphas are introduced for the first time, representing a new class of infected. They are far more dangerous than anything seen before. These creatures are stronger, faster, and far more aggressive than the common infected. They move with speed and force, making them extremely difficult to fight. According to what the community believes, it can take at least 12 arrows to the chest just to bring one down. Facing one without a clear plan is almost impossible. Realizing the danger, Jamie and Spike try to leave the area as quickly as they can. The situation quickly turns chaotic. It is believed that the rage virus affects some bodies differently, almost like a powerful enhancer, causing certain infected to grow stronger, react faster, and become far more violent. Jamie quickly tries to guide Spike, telling him to run and shoot to keep moving and avoid being surrounded. But Spike begins to panic. Despite everything he has learned, he cannot land a single shot. Fear takes over, and the infected close in rapidly. Both of them are forced to fight just to stay alive. There are too many of them, and the situation quickly starts to fall apart. In the middle of the chaos, they manage to make their way back to the abandoned house and rush up into the attic. With great effort, they block the entrances using furniture and anything heavy they can find, hoping to create even a small sense of safety. Outside, from a nearby hill, the Alpha watches them. It does not move or attack, but its presence is clear. It stands there in silence, observing, waiting, and making it known that the danger is far from over. With no other option and the tide already high, they decide to stay there for the night until it drops again. They know they cannot return to the island yet, as crossing now would be both impossible and dangerous. As darkness falls, Spike looks out from the attic and notices a large bonfire burning in the distance. Curious, he asks his father what it might be, but Jamie admits he does not know. He has never been this far before and does not recognize any signs of other groups. That night, Spike is shaken by a frightening nightmare. He sees his mother drowning, struggling as he watches helplessly. The image is intense and pulls him awake suddenly. But the real danger comes soon after. The old house, already weak from years of decay, begins to give way. Part of the structure collapses without warning. They barely escape in time, forcing them to make a quick decision to leave and return to the island as soon as possible. The tide has dropped enough for them to cross. Without hesitation, they begin moving back, picking up their pace. However, they fail to realize that the Alpha has already noticed them. As Jamie praises Spike for what he achieved, a flock of birds suddenly bursts into the sky. It is a clear sign. The Alpha is chasing them at full speed. The tension rises as they run with everything they have toward the island's entrance gate. They reach it just in time and alert the watchtower.
I just want to tell Mom when we get back.
Go! Fucking go! Keep moving! Get up! Fucking go! Oh God! Hey, go!
The community reacts immediately. From above the walls, sentries fire a volley of arrows toward the Alpha, trying to stop it before it reaches them. It is only when a flaming arrow strikes the creature that it finally falls. The Alpha collapses, and the community celebrates with relief. As they return, the people gather around praising Spike for his courage and for surviving his first journey to the mainland. Jamie proudly shares the story, highlighting his son's actions during the danger. But in the middle of the celebration, Spike notices something unsettling. He sees his father quietly slipping away with a woman named Emma. The moment leaves him standing there in shock. Horrified by what he has just seen, Spike returns home alone. There his neighbor Sam finds him, notices his mood and gently tries to comfort him. Spike opens up and admits that he is worried about his mother's health. Instead of getting better, Isla seems to be getting worse each day, and it deeply concerns him. Sam then tells him about Dr. Ian Kelson, a doctor who was once well known for his skill and might have been able to help her. However, he also warns that the doctor lost his mind some time ago and chose to isolate himself from everyone. The situation becomes even more interesting when Spike mentions the bonfire he saw from the attic. As soon as Sam hears this, he connects it to Dr. Kelson, which can only mean one thing. The doctor is still alive. That single detail changes everything. For the first time, there may be hope for his mother if they can find him. The next day, Jamie returns home suffering from a heavy hangover. Spike, no longer willing to stay silent, confronts him directly. He accuses him of lying to his mother and of hiding the truth about the doctor. Pressured, Jamie finally admits that he did meet Kelson years ago during a trip to the mainland. He remembers finding him surrounded by bodies all carefully arranged in rows as if they were part of some kind of experiment. The doctor was still wearing his uniform and showed no reaction to death around him. The memory disturbed them so much that they chose to stay away from that place forever. Jamie believed it was best to forget it, but now he begins to see that it may have been the wrong choice. Spike, however, has already made up his mind. He will take his mother to the doctor no matter the risk. He even demands that his father stay out of it. In his desperation, Spike threatens Jamie with a knife, but Jamie easily disarms him. Instead of punishing him, he hands the knife back and leaves the house in anger without saying another word. With his decision set, Spike creates a distraction by setting fire to the community's supplies. The rising smoke and sudden chaos give him the chance he needs. He takes his mother and escapes toward the mainland. They move quickly, using the confusion to cross before anyone can stop them. When Isla, already weakened, realizes where they are, she becomes frightened. Spike does his best to calm her, promising that everything will be all right. All he wants is to reach the doctor and find a way to save her. At dusk, they stop in a wooded area to rest. They set up a small makeshift camp and prepare to spend the night. But during the night, one of the crawling infected, moving silently along the ground, gets close to them. Just as it is about to attack Spike, who is sleeping, Isla reacts in time and kills it. If she had not acted when she did, Spike would not have survived. At the same time, in another part of the mainland, a group of soldiers is trying to escape from a horde of infected along with a new Alpha. The chase is intense and brutal. One by one, the soldiers fall, unable to fight back against the overwhelming force. In the end, only one man is left alive, injured and alone near a river. Elsewhere, a different and unsettling scene unfolds. A group of infected appears to be bathing, moving slowly as if they still hold some faint trace of human behavior. Among them is one figure that stands out, a pregnant infected woman. Spike and Isla continue their journey, but the crossing remains difficult and dangerous. Isla, weakened by her illness, begins to experience hallucinations. As they move forward, Spike spots a thin infected crawling across the ground. Without hesitation, he shoots it with an arrow. The impact draws attention, and nearby infected begin moving toward them. Within moments, they are being chased by a small group closing in fast. Searching for shelter, they rush into an old petrol station. The place has been abandoned for years and gas has built up inside, making it hard to breathe and forcing them to move carefully. The situation quickly becomes critical as the infected approach. Just in time, a soldier appears and sets the attackers on fire from outside, saving them. He introduces himself as Eric and explains that he was traveling on a ship that was wrecked near the mainland after violent waves. He survived, but his story brings grim news. Once someone reaches the mainland, there is no way to leave. The routes are either guarded or completely blocked. As they continue, Isla seems to regain a little strength and is able to walk more steadily. However, something soon catches her attention. Strange sounds lead her toward an old train hidden under heavy vegetation and almost invisible among the trees. Inside, she makes a shocking discovery. The pregnant infected woman is there, the same one Spike had seen earlier. Without hesitation, Isla decides to help the woman give birth. The moment is tense, but after some struggle, the baby is delivered safely. For a brief second, everything feels calm, however. As soon as the mother stands, her instinct takes over and she tries to attack. Eric reacts instantly and kills her without hesitation. The danger is gone, but the moment leaves a heavy impact on all of them. He then demands that Isla hand over the baby, believing it to be a threat. But Isla refuses firmly. She holds the child close, convinced that it is not dangerous. At that exact moment, another alpha suddenly appears and kills Eric within seconds. The attack is fast and violent. Spike and Isla run without looking back, chased by the creature. Just as they are about to be caught, Dr. Ian Kelson appears. Using a blowgun filled with morphine, he strikes the alpha with precision and manages to sedate it. The creature collapses, at least for now. Without wasting time, Kelson picks up what remains of Eric and leads Spike and Isla to his shelter. Hidden deep within the forest, Kelson lives in a disturbing place. Around his home are structures made from human bones, along with a large pyramid built from skulls. He shows no discomfort in revealing this to them. As he speaks, he pours iodine over his body, explaining that the virus reacts badly to it and that it offers some level of protection. It is part of his routine. After burning Eric's remains, Kelson gives Spike the skull and tells him to place it somewhere on the pyramid. Still shaken, Spike follows the instruction in silence. The doctor then turns his attention to the baby and examines it carefully. Later, Kelson examines Isla. His expression changes as he studies her condition. After a moment, he confirms what he already suspected. Her illness is far too advanced. Her body and mind have been severely affected, and even though she has brief moments of clarity, her condition is getting worse. Time is running out. She has cancer. It is aggressive and has likely spread through her body. There is no treatment left that can stop it. Spike begs the doctor to do something to save her, but Isla has known for a long time. She suspected it even before any diagnosis. Her body and mind had already told her the truth. She accepts it calmly, with a quiet sense of peace that comes from facing death and choosing not to run from it. What can still be decided is how it happens. There are ways to pass without pain or suffering, and that is where Dr. Kelson steps in. He has the knowledge and the means to make sure her final moments are not filled with fear. Instead, he offers her a peaceful and dignified end. In a deeply emotional moment, Kelson stays with her. Surrounded by the bone structures in that still and silent place, Isla is allowed to pass peacefully. It is an act carried out with care and respect. At the same time, Spike has been sedated. He is given something to keep him out of it so he does not have to witness his mother's final moments. When he comes to, it is already over. He does not leave empty-handed. Kelson gives him his mother's skull. Spike accepts it with respect, then carries it to the top of the bone pyramid. Placing it there becomes his way of saying goodbye, a final act of honor and farewell. As dawn arrives, the situation changes again. The alpha returns, aggressive and out of control, heading straight for Kelson. Spike reacts immediately. He grabs one of the doctor's sedatives and uses it on the creature, stopping it just in time and saving Kelson's life. After everything settles, Kelson tells Spike it is time to leave. Spike then walks to the edge of the territory, carrying the baby with him. When he reaches the boundary, he leaves the child at the entrance of the community along with a note. It reads, "Her name is Isla." It is a quiet but final goodbye. The community takes the baby in and gives it the name Isla. On the other side, Jamie tries to reach Spike, but the tide is too high. He can only stand there and shout, unable to cross. His voice carries, but Spike does not return. Sometime later, Spike is alone, cooking a fish. Suddenly an infected appears. He deals with it quickly, but more begin to show up. The danger builds as he risks being surrounded. Then someone steps in. It is Jimmy, the same boy from the beginning, now grown into the leader of another group. Jimmy looks at Spike, acknowledges what he has survived, and offers him a place among his people. 28 years after the outbreak, Spike is taken by a group of kids and forced into a fight. They surround him with no way out. Their leader, Jimmy, watches with a smile, clearly enjoying it. Spike is terrified and helpless as Jimmy calls on his father, Satan, who he refers to as Old Nick, to witness whether Spike is worthy of joining them. A knife is placed in Spike's hand, but one of the boys quickly knocks it away. Everyone laughs except for one girl, Kelly, who looks uneasy. The boy keeps pushing Spike around until suddenly Spike reacts. In one desperate move, he pulls the boy down and stabs him. At first, everyone laughs, thinking it is a joke. But when the knife is pulled out, the bleeding does not stop. The boy collapses and no one helps as he slowly dies. Jimmy walks over and tells Spike that from now on his name is Jimmy because everyone there shares the same name. Spike is then handed the dead boy's wig. The group moves through the wasteland, killing a zombie along the way. Elsewhere, deep in the jungle, a man hunting a deer is suddenly chased by a group of zombies. Among them is an alpha, stronger and more aware than the others. It catches up to him and tears his head off. Later, Dr. Kelson is transporting a body from a train to his temple when he senses something behind him. The alpha is there. It charges toward him but stops when it notices his dart blower. Kelson slowly lowers the weapon, then quickly fires a dart that weakens it. As it becomes still, Kelson approaches and carefully treats its wounds, removing arrows left by a hunter. He speaks to it calmly and names it Samson. Afterward, Kelson returns to his temple and prepares a memorial for the body he brought back. He cleans the skull and places it with care. Then he retreats into his living space, plays music, and sits quietly, lost in thought as he looks through old photos. The next morning, Kelson prepares once again, taking his dart blower with him to find Samson. This time the creature appears calm. Kelson calls it closer and Samson stops just in front of him. Kelson fires another dart, then sits beside him speaking softly. He wonders if Samson understands anything he says, even just the tone of his voice. He tries to show that he means no harm. Samson remains still as Kelson continues talking, hoping for some kind of response. Eventually, Kelson lies down and falls asleep. When he wakes up, Samson is gone and Kelson feels relieved that he was not attacked. The next morning, Kelson wakes to find that Samson has left a deer's head for him. He smiles and waves at the alpha before sitting beside him once again as rain falls around them. Kelson continues speaking to him in his calm, gentle way, and later the two even move together in a strange, almost peaceful dance. Elsewhere in the jungle, 3 people search for food. They suddenly spot a zombie, and the older man with them warns that if the zombie notices them, it will scream. He moves in to finish it quietly, but the zombie lets out a scream anyway. The pregnant woman quickly runs off with the younger man as more infected begin closing in. The older man tries to escape as well, but he is quickly surrounded. He fights back, but blood splashes into his eyes, and before long he is overtaken and turned. The couple rushes back to their settlement and quickly secure the gate behind them. Once inside their hut, an elderly man tells them they have visitors. Sitting at the table are Jimmy and his group. The frightened family serves them food while Jimmy watches with amusement. He asks one of the girls, Jemima, to perform, and she begins to dance. The woman of the house demands to know why they are there. Jimmy casually replies that they are simply enjoying their hospitality and asks whether they are not welcome. She bluntly tells him no. Jimmy slams his hand onto the table and continues to joke around. When she asks again if they are leaving, Jimmy calmly says they will, but first they are going to kill them all. Suddenly, one of the family members throws boiling water at the group. For a brief moment it creates chaos, but they are quickly overpowered, beaten down and captured. The pregnant woman manages to escape and runs into the wilderness. The rest of the family is dragged away, while Kelly separates from the group to search for the missing woman. Meanwhile, Kelson is once again spending his day in his usual peaceful routine when Kelly spots him from a distance. She is stunned to see him dancing alongside Samson, unable to believe what she is witnessing. Back at a farmhouse, Jimmy gathers everyone and begins another one of his twisted speeches about Old Nick and the fate of the world. He claims Old Nick unleashed the demons upon the earth and chose him, his favorite son, to rule over the survivors. In front of him, the family of 4 sits bound and gagged. Jimmy continues, saying that Old Nick has also instructed him to offer charity to the world through sacrifice, and that the 4 captives will be those sacrifices. Jimmy turns to his group and announces that today's act of charity will be the removal of their skin. Spike is immediately shaken with fear. The others put on masks and move toward the Tide family. Hidden in the attic above, the pregnant woman watches in horror, powerless to help. The children begin peeling away their skin. Unable to bear the sight, Spike rushes outside and vomits. Kelly follows him and tells him that he cannot keep avoiding this forever, and that one day he will have to face it. Even so, Spike still cannot bring himself to watch, so Kelly stays beside him. As night falls, the mood shifts to the quiet glow of the Bone Temple. Samson sits weakly beneath the moonlight while Dr. Kelson lies beside him. Kelson softly explains that the medicine he has been giving him will only last for about 2 more weeks. He tells Samson that over the past 28 years he has gathered every bit of it from all over the world, but now it is nearly gone. He says their peaceful bond must soon come to an end. In his hand, Kelson holds a lethal injection, believing it will grant Samson eternal peace. As he says his farewell and moves to inject him, Samson suddenly speaks a single word, Moon. Kelson freezes in complete shock and lowers the needle. Back at the farmhouse, Jimmy's group has brutally removed the skin from everyone except the young man. The children look exhausted and disturbed by what they have done. Jimmy steps forward and tells the young man that he needs someone strong. He offers him a cruel choice: fight one of the group members. If he wins, he takes their place. If he loses, he dies. If he refuses, he dies anyway. With no other option, the man agrees. From the attic, the helpless woman watches everything unfold. Jimmy orders him to choose an opponent and he points to Jemima. She only laughs. The rope binding him is cut, and a knife is placed in his hand. Trembling, he slowly approaches her while she stands there completely calm. He lunges at her, but she effortlessly stabs him and knocks the knife from his hand. He manages to slap her, but she quickly cuts his hand and sends him crashing to the floor. Jemima moves on top of him and mocks him, saying he chose her because he thought she would be the weakest but instead made the worst mistake of his life. She tells him she is about to peel off his skin when suddenly she goes still. An iron hook has dropped over her head. Everyone freezes and looks up to see the pregnant woman in the attic. Arrows are fired at her, but she quickly runs as the wounded man crawls toward a gas cylinder. With his last strength, he manages to ignite it. Flames burst through the room, setting one of Jimmy's people on fire just as an arrow strikes him. Outside, the 2 standing guard think the screaming sounds far too intense. As the burning figure stumbles out, the woman leaps down from the attic and runs again. Jimmy immediately orders Spike to chase her. Spike sprints after her with his bow and arrows. The woman reaches the gate and desperately struggles with the lock. Spike catches up and raises his bow toward her. For a moment it seems over, but in the end Spike lowers the weapon and quietly asks her to take him with her. The woman slowly steps closer, then suddenly punches him hard in the stomach before opening the gate and escaping. Back at the farm, the others watch as the building is consumed by flames. Jimmy is furious when Spike returns. He demands to know what happened to the woman. Spike stammers, claiming that he had to kill her after she tried to run. He says they fought in the darkness and that he shot her with an arrow somewhere in the woods, but he does not know exactly where the body is. Jimmy coldly tells him he should have cut off her face and brought it back as proof. Spike begins to cry and apologizes. Jimmy says the apology should be directed to Old Nick, warning that Old Nick may now want Spike's face instead. One of the boys steps forward and says he would gladly carry out that wish, arguing that Spike no longer deserves to be part of the group after killing his best friend and showing weakness. Kelly suddenly steps in and says she agrees that they should ask Old Nick directly because she has seen him recently. Jimmy initially brushes it off, but Kelly describes him in detail, saying he had orange skin, lived in a huge temple made of human bones, and was even dancing with an alpha. That instantly gets Jimmy's attention. The next morning, Samson wakes and calmly eats a grape. Meanwhile, Kelson is inside, continuing his research and gathering more pills. He later heads out with his dart blower to look for Samson. At the same time, Jimmy and his group secretly inspect the temple. After looking around for a while, Jimmy excitedly declares that it truly is Old Nick's castle. He says it is a surprise to find him here, and remarks that he has changed a little since before. Kelly asks if they should go down and meet him, but Jimmy stops her, saying he will speak to him first and then they can all go together. Elsewhere in the jungle, Samson wanders alone, troubled by flashes of memory. When Jimmy quietly approaches the temple, he finds Kelson standing there, which startles him slightly. Jimmy asks if he is Old Nick. Kelson, confused, says he has no idea who that is, until Jimmy explains that he means Satan. Kelson calmly replies that he is a doctor and that this place is a memorial to the dead, much like a graveyard. Jimmy laughs and asks about Kelson's orange skin. Kelson explains that it is iodine used to help prevent the virus. Jimmy is surprised to hear him call it a virus and labels him an atheist doctor. He insists that Old Nick unleashed his wrath upon the earth and caused all of this. Kelson realizes he is dealing with a Satanist and Jimmy is pleased to be understood. He then praises Kelson's work in building the Temple of Bones. Kelson leans further into the conversation and asks Jimmy if Satan is truly his father. Jimmy agrees, though he admits he does not know much about him, only that he hears his voice in his head most of the time. He suggests that the two of them sit down and talk for a while. Meanwhile, the others remain gathered on the mound above. One of them keeps watch while two others casually fight nearby. Kelly sits with Spike beside a tree, carving her name into the bark. Spike quietly asks what if Kelson is nothing more than some random old man and says they should leave him alone. Kelly disagrees, insisting it will be glorious to finally meet Old Nick. After a moment, she sits closer to Spike and asks the question that really matters to her, whether Jimmy is truly his son. She points out that Jimmy looked at the place as if he had never seen it before, yet pretended otherwise. Back at the temple, Kelson speaks about his past. He says he only remembers fragments now and no longer truly recalls what life in society felt like, but he does remember that there was once order and structure, something that seemed impossible to break. There was certainty. More than anything, he remembers the church. He lived in the house beside it, and his father was the vicar. Kelson recalls believing that if his mother and sisters hid inside the church, they would be safe. Instead, his father was the one leading the infected. He said charity starts at home and handed over his own family. Kelson says that was the last time he ever saw him. Jimmy then shifts the conversation to the present. He explains that he has told his people about Old Nick, and that they are expecting to meet him. He bluntly tells Kelson that he must help make this happen, otherwise he will rip his guts out and choke him to death with them. Kelson understands the threat and quietly agrees. That night, Jimmy gathers everyone and announces that Old Nick will grant them an audience the next day. He lays down strict rules. No one is to touch him unless they wish to be struck down by flame. No one is to speak directly to him except Jimmy, his favored son. The group nods in obedience. Later, Kelson returns to Samson. He admits that he has not felt fear in a very long time, but now he does. He fears what may happen to Samson if he is gone. Kelson tells him he has been developing a theory about the infection. While they understand the physical side, such as the abnormal cell growth, he is now studying the psychological side. He has seen infected attack children, even infants, which means they may be seeing things that are not really there. As a doctor, he calls this psychosis something that may be treatable. He carefully sorts through some tablets and urges Samson to swallow them. Early the next morning, Spike wakes before everyone else. He quietly gathers his things and attempts to slip away. As he moves through the jungle, a zombie suddenly charges at him. He manages to fight it off and finishes it by driving an arrow into it. Moments later, one of the boys who already despises him appears and corners him with a knife. Just as the boy is about to kill him, Kelly arrives and quickly takes him down. She turns to Spike and tells him that she has seen everything out there, and there is no better place than this. She tells him he needs to stay with her. Then she hands him the wig and the two of them head back. When they return, Kelly tells Jimmy that the boy tried to run and they had no choice but to finish him. Jimmy clearly does not believe her and tries to frighten her into changing her story, but she stands firm and repeats the same version. After a tense pause, Jimmy finally smiles. Elsewhere, Kelson looks around the temple grounds and realizes Samson is nowhere to be seen. Samson is by a stream washing his hands. He seems far more aware than before and begins walking deeper through the jungle. Soon he comes across the remains of an old train and steps inside, taking a seat. As he sits there, fragments of memory return. He remembers being on that same train long ago, traveling somewhere unknown. A conductor approaches and asks for his ticket, but the memory quickly twists as the conductor suddenly turns into a zombie. Samson is pulled back into the present when he notices a lone infected nearby. Within moments, the train is swarmed with them. A brutal fight breaks out and Samson takes them down one by one. Back at the temple, Kelson prepares for the night ahead, gathering music and making final arrangements for Jimmy and his group. He moves carefully around the temple, setting everything in place. As night falls, Jimmy and the others arrive, greeted by the striking decorations that light up the temple. They make their way to the center and put on their masks before walking further inside. Suddenly, they hear a voice. From behind the pillars, Kelson appears, fully committed to his performance as music begins to echo through the temple. He launches into a wild, monstrous dance and creates a circle of fire around them. He throws dust into their eyes, stunning them, and continues the fierce display in perfect rhythm with the music. At the same time, Samson emerges, covered in blood after finishing off the zombies outside. Excited by the spectacle, Jimmy begins dancing as well, joined by the rest of the children. For the final part of the performance, Kelson lifts a flaming staff and gives them a dramatic show that leaves them completely mesmerized. When the display ends, they are all deeply impressed. Kelson then invites them to come closer. He addresses the group and tells them to kneel, but stops Jimmy and calls him his son. Jimmy smirks, clearly pleased, and thanks him for the show. Before leaving, Jimmy asks if he has any advice for them. Kelson carefully responds that they must continue with their mission. Jimmy proudly explains that their mission is to brutally skin and eliminate the useless people of the kingdom. Kelson is visibly unsettled by this, but quietly agrees. Behind his mask, Spike listens in horror. Jimmy presses for more guidance, and Kelson continues, saying that the children must always obey him. Jimmy repeats the words with satisfaction, adding that this must be done without question or doubt. He then asks for the final order. Kelson says that he must continue to grow his team forever. Jimmy cheers and declares that he will keep growing until he rules the entire kingdom. As they begin to rise to leave, Kelson's eyes fall on the masked Spike. He tells him to stop. Kelson approaches, removes the mask, and immediately recognizes him. Then Kelson turns back to Jimmy and says there is one final command. Jimmy starts to object, but Kelson cuts him off and says that a sacrifice is required. He explains that for true power to be passed on, a final sacrifice must be made. Kelly slowly begins to smile as Kelson looks directly at Jimmy and tells him that he is the chosen one, and that the same sacrifice is now required. For him to rise, Jimmy must be bound in place and his followers must carry it out. Jimmy steps back and curses at Kelson, but Kelly is already moving toward him with a knife. Jimmy quickly tries to regain control, shouting that they have all been deceived. He reveals that Kelson is not Satan at all and says that if he truly were Satan, this would not be possible. Without warning, Jimmy lunges forward and drives the knife into Kelson's stomach. Spike rushes to Kelson's side as the other two children stand frozen in confusion. Jimmy then declares that he is the real Satan and orders them to kill Kelly. One of them rushes at her, but she takes him down with ease. The other charges as well, and although she clearly does not want to, Kelly is forced to kill him too. At the same time, Spike turns on Jimmy and stabs him, and Kelly knocks him to the ground. Spike hurries back to the dying Kelson. Kelly realizes from the way they look at each other that they have known one another before, and Kelson confirms that he is not old Nick. No one is. Kelly remarks that he put on quite a show, but bluntly tells him that he is not going to survive the wound. Spike cries, saying Kelson could have simply let them go. Kelson quietly replies that he saw Spike behind the mask and understands how much he has suffered. Spike breaks down in tears. Kelly then tells Kelson there is still one thing she can do for him: obey his final command. Not long after, Spike and Kelly walk away together. Kelly grows curious about him, asking his name, and then finally tells him hers as they continue on through the wasteland. Meanwhile, Jimmy is nailed down and screams for help. He cries out that he can no longer hear Satan's voice when he suddenly sees Samson slowly approaching. Samson ignores him and moves straight toward Kelson, reaching him. Samson quietly says thank you. Kelson slowly passes away, and Samson gently carries his body off. Later, on an island settlement, a small girl is studying the Second World War inside a protected habitat. Her father, Jim, enters and helps her with her work, asking questions and guiding her through the text. Suddenly, the girl asks him to stay quiet because she can hear something outside. In the silence, Jim hears it too. They quickly arm themselves and head out into the grasslands. Looking down from above, they see a swarm of zombies running across the field. Ahead of them, two people are being chased. It is Spike and Kelly. The girl asks whether they should help them, and after a small pause, Jim answers that of course they should, and with that, the two survivors begin running towards them. That's the end of the 28 Days Later franchise. If you enjoyed this twisted and weird recap, make sure to show the channel some love. And as always, stay awesome and take care.